Meeting of January the 13th, 2015. First of all, I think we received regrets from the Deputy Warden, Temps, and Councillor Murphy. Approval of agenda. Or does anybody have anything to add? Or
So moved to approve the agenda.
Second.
moved and seconded. All those in favour signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Conflict of interest declaration. Does anybody around the table have a conflict with any of the items on the agenda? If not, we'll go to presentation, and we have one presentation by Rick Allwright from YASTA, and I guess it's about getting some more people in the area, huh? Or hoping or trying. Go ahead, Rick.
Good evening, councillors. Thank you for giving me time to present to you today about this event that we're looking at. As you're well aware, part of YASTA's mandate is to attract events to the region, and the sport of curling is something that I've been working on, trying to find an event that's right for this region for quite a while. YASTA, along with the Yarmouth Curling Association, is asking for financial support from the town, Municipality of Argyle, and the Municipality of Yarmouth in the pursuit of hosting the 2017 Canadian Mixed Curling Championships. We do currently have the support of the town and the Municipality of Yarmouth. And to be completely transparent, I am also the president of the curling club as well as my role with YASTA, so I have quite a bit of interest in this whole event. This is a 6-day tournament featuring Canada's top mixed curling teams. A mixed curling team is comprised of 2 women and 2 men, and the event would have a total of 14 teams, one representing each province or territory. This event, although happens in the 2017 curling season, the dates would actually be in early November 2016. We are working on putting in place a deal that would see this event hosted at the Mariner Centre, which would be a first time for this event to be hosted in an arena. We would be converting Arena 1 into a full arena ice, which is what you see on TV. If you ever watch curling on TV, it's basically the exact same thing. If this were not to work out, we can host it at the curling club. We're big enough to be able to do that. But we really we're really pushing to do it at the Mariner Centre. Most recent past hosts of this event include North Bay in Ottawa, Ontario, and Mount Royal, Quebec, which is a suburb of Montreal. And then this coming event in November 2015 is going to be in Toronto. This event's been fairly centrally located for quite a number of years, and there is an appetite from Curling Canada to move it out of these central provinces. So we have a decent chance of getting those. The event's expected to sell a minimum of 500 room nights and have an economic impact of close to $750,000. We currently don't have any other big events booked for this time, and we know that the economic boost that events have in November is it really helps the community get through the full winter season, especially the accommodation properties and whatnot. This event is meant to be a stepping stone. This event is on one of the smaller side of what curling events can be for what's available out there. But in order to attract those larger events, we need some experience. We haven't hosted a national curling event ever, so we need to get some experience under our belts so that we can actually go to those bigger events and bring them here. We'll use the event to develop our volunteer capacity, our local knowledge of converting that ice into arena ice, which is not a small chore by any means, get an understanding and grow the sport of curling in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores. We're here asking for a financial contribution to be able to make this event happen. Those numbers are available in the documents Chris gave you. I'm not going to talk about it in public just because we're trying to keep the numbers a little private right now, just so we can get the event, and then we'll make it but there's two components. One is a bid fee, and then a second component is actually putting on the event. Curling is a sport that attracts both participants and spectators to its destination. It is one of the sports that regularly receives a number of bids for any one event. It's highly lucrative events that curling is. We hope that by hosting the 2017 Canadian Curling Mixed Championships, we will be able to attract other curling events with bigger impacts here in the future. I'd like to thank you for your time and be more than happy to answer any questions.
So Rick, you're saying that it's called the 2017,
Yeah,
but it's in the fall of 16?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just so I'm clear on that.
Yeah, so it's the
I
2017 curling season, but it's their first event of the year, so
Yeah.
it happens in 2016.
Councillor Surratt?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. You said the 2 other units were committed.
Yep, they've already committed.
And they're giving you $1, and I'm not asking you to say.
Yep, they've committed to the amount we've asked for.
Okay,
So yeah,
thank you.
Councillor Muse?
My question was what you asked.
Okay, yeah. Any more questions or? Yes.
The bid fee,
yep.
is that something you put in for a bid? Is that something you get back if you don't get the curling?
Yeah, we wouldn't end up paying that unless we actually got it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it goes straight to Curling Canada to help them pay some of their costs of actually helping us put on the event. So they're going to be traveling out here a couple times throughout that year to help us get organized, and they'll be bringing out a trailer full of stuff, tractor load full of stuff that helps put that on the event. So it just helps cover some of those costs for them.
So converting the arena for curling,
Yeah,
will you be getting help from the Curling Association or from?
yeah,
You'll probably
exactly.
get some expertise from.
We'll actually be
Maybe the ices.
We'll actually be bringing in a ice maker from outside the province. There's no ice maker inside Nova Scotia that's capable of building the ice on top of the arena.
Most every curling bounce field and everything you see in Canada, it's the same guy that.
There's 2 or 3 guys that do it all, and we'll be bringing one of them.
Yeah.
And they'll be training the people that we have at our curling club to be able to do that in the future.
You have, okay, go ahead, CAO.
Rick, when does YASTA require an answer?
As soon as possible.
Okay, that's what I thought you would say.
I need the bid in by the end of the month. So.
Okay, so what that means is that, so we have a grants to organizations policy.
Yep.
And I'm just saying this for the benefit of
Yep.
myself too, I have to remind
Yeah.
myself. So under 6.6 of the policy, it says council will consider a request outside the provisions of section 4, which indicate that we have 2 times where we issue disbursements. So remember, it's May and September, or March and September, which are the deadlines. And so this would fall outside of that,
Yep.
which it's acceptable, provided that it meets the request, the following conditions. One is the request a special event or activity. Clearly that is the case. And then the event or activity is held in the municipality of Argyle or clearly benefits businesses in the municipality of Argyle. And the project meets the provisions of section 65 of the MGA, which it would because it's a nonprofit, granted nonprofit organization. So what typically happens is those conditions are assessed initially by myself and the CAO and the warden, sorry. I was Hi, my name is I think it's on that though. I mean, eventually I'll get it right. So myself and the warden, and who will recommend to council whether the conditions apply, and then council makes a decision whether they actually want to make the investment. So we will do that as soon as possible.
Perfect.
Which means because we have to do that, then we'd have to come back at our January, make a decision at our January committee of the whole.
Okay.
To respect your deadlines.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense?
When is what's the date of complete the whole meeting? 27?
Tight.
We'll make it work. It'll be express post to Curling, Canada and Ottawa.
So what do they require? Just a letter to commit or the money?
I just need a commitment. I don't need the money. I won't need the money until at best March. But they do want to see that we have the money in place.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We could do it at our ETM session.
Yes, we could certainly, no, that's absolutely, if that's it, yeah. Alls we need to do, the warden and I, is assess that situation for you, and then you can make that decision today if you wish. Yeah, if that's your wish. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my concern.
Well,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but you have to vote the amount thereafter.
Well, what's required is a commitment, not necessarily the funding amount, or does the motion?
The municipality of Yarmouth didn't, they committed to the bid fee. They didn't commit to the full other amount.
Okay.
no.
So just so that sorry, just so that I'm clear, what is the purpose of the confidentiality? Is it
The
Competition.
competition, this is not, this is an event that we're gonna have to win. Like,
Alright.
we will have to win this event.
okay? So that clearly falls within the definition of what we would consider to be in camera as well.
Yeah.
So
Like, even if it was, you decided yes in camera but needed to wait until after we won the event, which we'll know early March, and then make it in public
okay.
to finish it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That gives
Something, I'm just,
gives
we're
us
trying, yeah,
what we need in order
Yeah.
to make the proper motion.
Yeah.
If that's the will of council.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay. Like,
You're saying, yeah, but it doesn't seem you're sure.
No, but do you need a motion? Do you need,
Well, the town of Yarmouth has given a motion in camera to give it all.
okay.
Okay.
All three of you do things differently, so.
don't make motions in camera?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can be arranged.
Well, we have made legal motions outside of in camera that don't indicate an amount but indicate commitment.
Yeah.
That is based on a confidential recommendation. But in the interest of transparency, once everything clears out, we would have to make that very clear how much it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we've done that in the past, and it's
Yeah.
not been,
Yeah.
it's been,
Oh, yeah.
it's worked out just
And as
fine.
soon as it's won, I don't care who you tell.
Yeah, I think, but I guess it would be incumbent upon us to be sure that we would then pass the motion with the amount, so
Yeah.
that the community understands that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's our commitment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so any more questions or anything for Rick?
Just a comment, I do see that, I'm scrolling down to the webpage here, I do see that Halifax did host it at one time, 2002.
Yeah, they've hosted a few events there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're hosting one, and they were hosting one this March too.
Actually, that year, okay, yeah, no, I'm sorry, that's who won it.
In 2002.
No, but they've been in the province before.
They've
I
hosted. There's so many events. Like next year, there's one in Digby that's
Yeah.
seniors,
Yeah.
and this March there's the World Men's in Halifax.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
there's tons of different events.
It'd just be a first for Yarmouth.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the 2002 is like around when Halifax hosted the Briar.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, Rick,
all right, thank you.
and we'll let you know. Okay, next item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes, and we have minutes of the regular council of December the 9th, 2014. It was moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. We don't have anything here, or do I have to refresh?
I'm refreshing.
Oh, okay,
I can do the verbal, there's no question.
okay.
Let me just see, I did receive it via email, so it's very brief, so I'm just gonna, there's 3 items that I'd like to bring to council's attention that are business arising. One is that we did have our first municipal administration planning meeting with the councillors present, and the commitments that we made at that meeting were to first establish a subcommittee, which has one task, which we're supposed to do by the end of January. It's apparently only muses are allowed to be on the subcommittee. Myself, Danny, and Scott are going to do the what we call the community engagement planning piece. That really is an integral part of this decision and what we're going to do. In the meantime, John Sullivan is leading, our Public Works Director is leading some of the engineer work that has been done, that has been refreshed on this building. So we have refreshed information on that, and we've asked him to tell us how the National Building Code would be impacted if we start opening up this building, and what kind of impacts that would have on this building as it exists now. So we want to have very clear information on retrofit of this building, and retrofit expansion potentially, and then compare that, of course, with construction of new. And so that work is obviously ongoing. So the community engagement piece is going to identify at what levels do we need to inform the community, and at what levels do we need to ask the community for input. So that work has really not been done in a solid way. So the purpose of that committee is to do that. And so they'll report to the broader group. It's just, it wasn't practical to have 8 people do that. So that's where we're at there with that. So that's ongoing. And I'm sure the councillors present will add something that I've most definitely missed. Private roads, Montague Road. This was a request from the community for us to consider taking over the road. So we have completed, the Department of Property Inspection and Public Works concluded their study of the plans provided by the contracting company who built the road, and gathering the information from third parties. So we will have a request for decision to council on the January Committee of the Whole. What we were able to infer based on the chronology of events is that it's very likely that the Montague Road did not meet the specifications of provincial standards at the time that the current owner brought that to the province for taking over. That request was in 1993, and so the province stopped taking over roads in 1998 or 97. So we still don't have full information in terms of whether or not that would be an engineered or have the capacity to become a road that would meet that standard. So the decision that will likely be faced of council at the end of the month is whether or not you want to invest engineering fees to assess the quality of that road. So we really need to establish that's really a go, no go situation. Like, so if you're not interested, obviously that's one option, but if you are, it might bring you down a road where you have to make other decisions, or it might be over. I mean, they might look at the road and say, no, it's made out of moss, so there's a lot of things that will come out of that study. And so at the next Committee of the Whole, we'll be asking you to consider whether or not that's the avenue you wish to approach. So what we also know as well is that under the current condition of the road, the garbage trucks will not go down that road due to the fact there is no cul-de-sac, there's no turnaround. That's what we expected. So there would have to be some improvements to the road, regardless of who owns it, in order for some of the services to be provided that are being requested by the residents. So there'll be quite a few decisions that you'll need to consider as we go down that road, no pun intended. And so but, you know, but those decisions aren't ready for you today. But you should, we're mentioning it now because that should start to prime you around the
Yeah.
decision and the pros and cons of actually doing that, right? So we will get the information to you as soon as possible, hopefully well in advance of the committee of the whole meeting to make a decision, okay? The last piece that I wanted to report on was the Eel Lake boat, the semi-submerged boat. That is now out of the water, so that project is complete. So that project had many twists and turns, but for the benefit of council and for those listening, from the municipality's perspective, the community was instrumental in a solution. We hit a number of stumbling blocks that we eventually overcame, but the last stumbling block was insurance. So it was because of the nature of pulling the boat out of the water and the equipment used to pull the water to pull the boat out of the water was going to prove extremely problematic from a cost perspective, from an insurance perspective. The fee would have been $4,000 just for the premium. So we had to find a more creative solution rather than to have a machinery on the ground pulling it from the water onto the ground. So we asked the community to think about whether or not they could move the boat to shore from the sea, from the water, from the lake. And so Nolan Dayon played an instrumental part in the solution, invested some dollars to purchase appropriate equipment, and there were 4 or 5, 6 volunteers that gave most of their day to move the boat from where it was to the shore, and in every instance, the volunteers said, "Look, we're doing this for our community." So we did do something for the volunteers. We purchased items for certain volunteers that played an instrumental role. Some of them, for example, Tusket Sales and Service towing was there. And so even part of Edwin's time was contributed to the project. So I think it showed that the community really wanted to get something done, right? And I think as we all did. So I wanted to let you know that that's out of the water and is gone, and the product was brought to the tipping scale. The total cost, I know we were talking a lot about what this might cost. Keeping in mind that the insurance, had we gone that way, the insurance alone would have cost $4,000. We're estimating that the cost will be around $4,000 all in. So that would include the removal, the towing, the volunteers, and also the some of the services that Eel Lake Oyster Farm provided. There was a cost associated to that, and including the tipping fees. So that was.
Okay.
I think if the community hadn't if we hadn't approached it the way that we did from a community perspective, had we not supported them in that, it would have been more costly for sure. So that ends the saga
Very good.
of a submerged boat, and it was really cool to watch.
I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
It was
and-
cold.
yes, it was cold to watch. Yes, yeah. So that's business arising.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything from the minutes that they want to bring up? If not, we'll go on to the next item, is Warden's report. I wasn't very busy, I guess, and I wanted to put something there, and I thought this would be a good chance to start the new year right. Councillors' reports. Anybody? Councillor Surratt?
Just one thing to report on. There was the Fire Association meeting last Thursday night. It was brought up that some of the fire trucks can't get in some of the driveways. And the reason is there's been so much growth in it. They probably have smaller cars. They can drive underneath, but when the fire trucks go in, or they try to go in, they tear equipment, tear mirrors, tear lights. And it's to the point where some departments have decided that they may have to say, we just can't go in if there's a fire. So anyhow, we're we will be putting it on the newsletter to advise people in the municipality that if they have such growth, that they should clear it out, to be sure that the fire trucks can get in. Also, the fire chiefs have decided to go knock on doors. There's different places in the municipality that was addressed, and they will be going knocking on doors to let people know. So, so I think that's a positive thing, because it could be, it could affect people, their houses on fire, and firemen couldn't get in. One instance was in Wedgeport at the fire that they had in the woods there. It was hard to get in with their trucks. It just almost didn't make it through. But anyhow, so just that's what I want to report on, so that people out there will know. Keep your driveways clear of brush. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we go to CAO's report. Oh,
Just very quickly, it's been relatively quiet due to the fishing season, but we do we do have this coming Saturday or this coming Friday. Saturday the 17th. Bad with dates. A second annual Lobster Dip Challenge at the Wedgeport Tuna Museum. It's always a fun night. There is a cash bar there, and basically you can make a hot or cold dip, and you bring it in, enter it into the contest, and everyone gets a sample. And of course, it's a blind sampling. You don't know who made what until the end, and there's always a winner. Usually emceed in comedic relief by yours truly, Councillor LeBlanc. So always a fun night. So that's this Saturday, and
this Saturday.
yeah, 7 p.m. at the Wedgeport Museum. I just got official info that Jimmy Conrad was going to enter a dip this year, bringing in outsiders for the first time, people from Argyle, starting a little bit of a Facebook rivalry, I do believe. So I think that'll make it that much more interesting. And I was getting to something else. Yes, ongoing talks between the community on what to do with the Wedgeport Tuna Wharf, who of course is part of our heritage, and a lot of brainstorming analysis and going on at what direction that wharf should head into the future, upkeep it, or what it should look like. So very preliminary stages, but that's being talked about quite a bit at the museum level as well as different community members. And I was going to say there's slight updates in the Wedgeport Wastewater, but you've seen that was on the agenda later on. I'll let Alain update for that. That's it.
Thank you. When you say you're going to have competitors from outside, you mean outside of Wedgeport? Or?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah. Outside of Wedgeport.
Yeah. All right.
Which all are welcome.
So far it's only been Wedgeport.
Last year was the first year.
Oh, okay.
It was this is a project child of the museum. So last year was the first year. It was a success. I can't remember for certain, but there was 9 or 10 different dips.
Very good.
And I'd say 50, 60 people probably. It was a good turnout. And this year I envision it being even better. So it should be good.
When you started, I thought you meant you had to take a dip in the harbor.
No, you're more than welcome to if you want, but it wouldn't be relevant to the challenge.
No. Okay, thank you. CAO's report. You going to read that, Alain?
I'm going to start from the back.
Good.
Good. It's more interesting in the back. I find that, extraordinarily offensive, seeing as my report's at the front and the staff is, never mind. Anyway, I'm really not that offended. Just very quickly going over, obviously the end of December, it slows down a little bit with the meetings, but it flares up pretty fast in January. As you know, the Yarmouth Industrial Commission meeting is upcoming on the 19th, next Monday. We are pleased to share the fact that Charelle Dayon has accepted her first 200 patients from A.M. Clark. I'm sure there were a lot of disappointed people that called and didn't get in, but we'd like to assure those that still without a doctor that she will be taking more patients. The timing on which, of course, is as she can take them on.
I spoke to Cheryl last week, and she said what she's waiting for now is for the computer system.
Yes.
For her files.
Y-
And
right.
I said, I know I'm not gonna get an answer, but do you have any idea when to expect the next call in? Well, she said it'll be a month or two, or once I see these 200 or
That's right.
whatever, so.
Yeah, I thought that was that was smart, because if you think about how many, a new physician, how many patients they can see, if you're going to bring in 400, they can't see 400 in a month. And a lot of people, when they switch doctors, they want to see their doctor. So,
Yeah, yeah.
So I think she's managing that quite well. And
Yeah.
I think she's getting a lot of good advice too from the office manager there as well. I mean, obviously there's other physicians there, and there's nurse practitioner.
And Terry Rowland.
Terry Rowland
Yeah,
is offering a lot of good advice, and
Yeah.
so that's helpful. She's got
Yeah.
a lot of support. We just, as municipal employees, we should just get out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm talking about myself, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's going pretty well. We'll be meeting with the economic development subcommittees, the Exit 33 and the Argyle committee, around now what. We've done certain things. Most of where we focused last year was actually less about economic development, more about beautification and tourism. So, where we're going moving forward. And so we did, Charlene, our new community development officer, along with myself, Lucien, Chris, and Danny, talked about what that might look like and got some pretty good discussion. And so we're going to probably change things a little bit and see if they like it. Otherwise, I realize I won't speak at the wastewater system project update. There is some information in the report, but it's also on the agenda. And the tax sale ad has been out. It's out in the newspaper now. We have 38 properties on the initial list. Last year we had 97. So there's been a tremendous positive amount of work from our tax department, both in identifying some properties that quite frankly didn't exist, and to try to make arrangements with those that were not paying on a timely basis to make alternate arrangements. So that's good for us. It's less administration on our part and less cost to the taxpayers that perhaps we're trying to avoid having fees added to some of these accounts, because nobody wants to pay an administration fee. I mean, it's a cost that we're trying to recover. So, but we don't want to charge it, obviously, because it just makes the problem worse in certain situations. So that's out, and of course the tax sales in February. I can't recall the date. I believe it's in here. Thank you, the 17th. I knew somebody would know that right off the tip of their tongue. And that's all I'll say for now, unless there are any questions.
See, the assessments are out. Got mine today.
Oh boy.
And the deadline for appealing is the 9th of February. I noticed that. Not that I plan to appeal, but. And assessments are down? Or mine is.
It,
10% up average across the board.
10%
Across the
up.
province?
2%.
Oh, 2. Yeah, I compared the uniform assessments from year to year, and we're pretty much on that line. I think it's 1.8.
Okay.
Now, not to get into too much detail, but there's the cap assessment, and then there's the market assessment, right? So what in fact people see is that their market value goes up or down, but that may not impact their taxes the way that they think, because it's actually the capped assessment that's the basis upon which they're taxed.
Yeah.
I think the percentage was a little below 2% or in or around that for the CPI.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, that's what they'll see on their property tax return, is an increase of that much,
Yeah.
which is inflation.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's no inflation now, the oil's going down.
Was that?
I said there shouldn't be too much inflation with the way the oil's going down now. Price of home heating fuel and gasoline all plays into the inflation rate.
This does.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question on your report.
Okay, Councillor Donaldson.
On the Argyle Economic Development, remember, it may be 2 years, maybe even 3 years ago, when we had the community involved in community meetings. We had, I forget the name of the firm come in.
Yep.
And can you familiarize me with who that was?
Yes, that was, it was,
Irregardless,
yeah. Yeah, Wayne Adams was one of the gentlemen. Yeah, name escapes me currently, but I'll find
okay.
it.
The reason I'm asking, now that we have the REN set up, we have Charlene in place and whatnot, do we actually use that report anymore, or is that just shelved in, because there was some good ideas on there? Because I don't need, was it before the new councillors are on council, would they have even seen that? 'Cause so it must have been 3 years ago.
I remember when, no, the Chris Lowe group, it was the Chris Lowe.
Chris Lowe group.
It was in 2013.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Lowe, yeah.
It was the new council.
It's been a year and a half,
Yeah.
a little bit more than a year and a half.
Chris
Chris Lowe Group, yeah, thanks, Chris.
I guess my question is, are we using that?
Yes, the answer is yes. So how we're using it is through the subcommittee. So what we've done is, and starting with Brenda and of course continuing with Charlene, is that we have that report and we say, here are the recommendations that the Chris Lowe Group has come up with. So how do you, community, feel like they should be executed? Now some of them are more challenging, like outgoing missions and inbound missions. Those things really we require support from a COA. But some of the work that is associated with Exit 33, for example, around land use planning, marketing the Tusket business core, those are still priorities that are there. They just haven't been executed, but they are. This report has certainly played a pretty significant role, and will continue to do so. Yeah, but your question leads me to the need to present an update on that report, because I think we do report on the strategy, the broader strategic plan, but not as much on that. So it's really, I think it's time.
Well, yeah, with the new REN board in place, and I mean, I just wondering if it still had a use, that's all.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of people got involved with that. Actually, it was one of the more successful community things we have done, like.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was all for your report?
Unless
more
there
questions?
are questions.
We'll go on to other business. Nakile board member appointment.
I so moved that we appoint Garth Davis to the board.
Second.
I heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Get back here. Next item, Argyle Recreation Commission Strategic Plan. And I think we're going to ask Nathalie D'Entremont to give us a little presentation and field questions also, or whatever. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to first thank you for the opportunity to actually come here and talk about the Argyle Recreation Strategic Plan. It's been a long time since the Recreation Commission has actually gone and devised and went through a process and come up with a strategic plan that gives us guidance and direction as to where we want to go with our recreation, our physical activity, and how are we going to get there. So for those of you who are not really familiar with the Argyle Recreation Commission, we are made up of representatives from your districts appointed by yourselves, as well as Councillor Allwright, Councillor Murphy, and Councillor Bork sit on the Recreation Commission. So in January of 2013, we asked Debbie Smith, who is the South Shore Regional come and guide us through the process. So after 4 meetings of going through a process, we gathered the framework to come through a strategic plan. First of all, we went through one of our steps was just to go through a process and what's the vision of Argyle Recreation Commission. So we came up with a whole bunch of different ideas and what was important to us and to our communities. And this is the vision that we came up. We envision a community where people of all abilities experience the joy and the freedom to be found through daily participation in a wide variety of unstructured as well as structured opportunities for play, recreation, and physical activities in our beautiful natural surroundings, recreation spaces, and quality facilities. Individuals appreciate the benefits of recreation and are aware of the opportunities. Leaders and community organizations collaborate to provide recreation opportunities for the youngest to the eldest in all the seasons of all year round. So that's a really broad, which is what a vision is. So we narrowed some of it down and we looked at what our mission would be. So when we talked about a mission, what's important to the Argyle Recreation Commission? So it's critical for Argyle Recreation Department to have improved results in the following. So participation in recreation activities, access to recreation opportunities, clients and public safety, which are one of our goals that we try, especially with our day camps. Impact on our healthy lifestyles, consumer satisfaction, the cost, the revenue, the conditions of our finances, all the management of how we do these things, the number of volunteers and our volunteer satisfaction, quality leaders, quality and conditions of our facilities, access to infrastructure, connection to nature, awareness of benefits and opportunities, and community representation. So there's a whole lot of things going on there, but these are all important and we want to improve on these. So how are we going to do that? So as the Recreation Commission, we got together and went through a process and we looked at what we call the SWOT. So we looked at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities that were inside the internal organization. So inside the Recreation Department, inside the municipal office, what were our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So we came up with a list of all of those, and some of those are mentioned there. After we looked inside, then we took a look and we stepped outside of the box. So what's out there and what is affecting recreation? So we talked about some of the social aspects that are changes, the economic changes, the political changes, as well as the technological changes. And you know, as you sit here and you're all in front of your iPads, that we spend a lot of the technical changes have been increased dramatically over the last years. And you're sitting in front of your iPads or, you know, everybody's on their phones or whatever. So this is basically affecting a lot of our recreation opportunities at this point. Came up and we identified 6 critical areas. The lack of quality infrastructure. And I have been in the recreation field for many years. I have been in the recreation department 20 years ago. I've seen the recreation infrastructure being built, and now I've seen the infrastructure trying to be rebuilt. The access to infrastructure, the lack of outdoor play, awareness of local opportunities, awareness of the benefits of recreation, and the lack of community representation on the commission. And speaking to the last point, prior to January 2013, there was only maybe 5 or 6 community members on the Recreation Commission. So the recreation staff contacted you as councillors and asked to appoint someone from your community to actually represent your community in recreation aspect, but as well as have recreation as a very important part of their daily lives, so that it would be something that would benefit the community as a whole and the municipality as a whole, not necessarily just the district. So that has changed. We identified 6 goals. 6 goals is a lot for a strategic plan. It's a lot to accomplish, but within these goals, we kind of came up with some a few objectives under each goals so that they could be achieved. Increase participation in recreation activities. We know that if people don't participate, then we're not doing our jobs. And people need to take some ownership as well. So how does, increasing infrastructure increase participation? So we talk about the beautification of our infrastructures. How does that increase participation? People, not necessarily, we are a two-man department, 2 female actually, and we can't be out there and saying, this is what you should be doing. It needs to come from within, and you need to want to do that. So how are we going to help you do that? And this is one of the things that we're trying to establish is to better improve access to our recreation infrastructures. Improve the quality and the quantity of our facilities. So we'll take an inventory, and I'll speak in more details about these. Increase awareness of the benefits and opportunities. I think some of these have already been started, and a lot of them are already going forward. Improve access to recreation opportunities and improve connection to nature. And when we looked at our mission statement stated in our beautiful surroundings, beautiful natural surroundings. And that came out nice and strong in our process, that we have a lot of natural surroundings and beautiful surroundings that we should be taking a look at, and how can we use them to increase our physical activity or recreation benefits. So when we looked at increasing participation in recreation activities, we broke them out and broke them down into different objectives. Identify specific target groups and carry out a needs assessment. So wanting to know what are the needs of our community. Develop a plan to increase awareness and benefits of the recreation and physical activity. Link timing of activities to the 2 target groups. And I've had the opportunity in the last couple of years of being part of focus groups where people are telling us that we're providing great programs, but at the wrong time. So if it's moms and toddlers activity, we can't be providing that in the afternoon because afternoon is the time that they're napping. So morning are best. So these types of things that we need to look at. Increase the use of Facebook to promote the link and link it to our website. And we've been doing some of that. Increase connection with communities and schools, provide home and community-based opportunities, and to provide affordable opportunities. So just to review our fee schedule, what are we asking for what's the cost of participating in any one of our activities? We kind of looked at if you're in the workforce, maybe we'll provide a fee for that activity to get some of the revenue back for the cost of providing that activity or recreation program. If it's youth that may not be able to pay, we might have our fee structure could be less. It's low cost or no cost, as well as for our seniors. So we're looking at some of that. Provide home-based community-based opportunities. And we're hearing out there that a lot of the times we're trying to do this centralized activities so that everything is in Tusket or it's all central. So people don't really necessarily want to travel to have some physical activity or benefits of recreation. So they were looking at decentralizing and putting smaller activities in different parts of our communities. Increase opportunities for families. Explore apps and ways to promote our activities. Those are some of the things that we talked about. Improved access to recreation infrastructure. As you can see down at the bottom here is our tennis courts, in which you're very well aware of that the improvements taking place there. So we promote the current infrastructure through our social media, improve signage via the schools and via schools. A lot of our infrastructures out there don't have signage. So how do we find, if a visitor comes out, how does he find that ball field? Or how do we know? So it's just kind of that beautification and this wayfinding. Provide free recreational opportunities. Develop clubs that support the existing infrastructures. For example, our tennis courts, we could have a tennis club. Host tournaments to boost the participation. Identify gaps in infrastructure and develop a plan that considers all ages. Increase the number of community use of school agreements. And presently, we only have one. So all of our French school boards, the CSAP, we do not have a formal agreement. Increase the use of subsidy support programs and promote facility through existing clubs, groups, and association. So we're becoming a marketing agent. Improve quality and quantity of the facilities. And so we're looking again at our facilities. Take an inventory of the existing ones, identify the needs and the upgrades, and we may look at new development. We've been talking, that we have a track and field at Paramba. Maybe we need some improvement and maybe it needs to be a little better. Identify sources of funding for facility development. Work with community volunteers, clubs, organizations to support their facility development. Increase council support through a facility development plan. Carry out a safety audit of existing facilities, plan for the improvements. Establish community use of school agreements, and develop a comprehensive annual maintenance plan. And I know some of you might have some questions around that, and some of these have already been started. So this plan was put in place in 2014, so it's a year already going. Argyle Recreation Commission has approved it in principle, and now we're looking for yours. So increase awareness of the benefits and opportunities. Again, this is just a marketing plan. How can we go out there and how can we actually engage the community and tell them what's out there and what the benefits are? So having marketing strategies for education, the media, the resources, hosting workshops, promotion of using them, again, our newsletter, municipal website, our Facebook, Active Living. I just saw a post earlier today, had 1,600, almost 1,700 views within a couple hours. So we are hitting populations out there that we weren't before. Create a champion initiative, a role model in your communities, and we started doing some of that, and that has a snowball effect. Going to existing organizations and just telling them what's out there, and working with them on their own agenda as well. Partnering with the schools to train teams of older students to work with the younger children, so basically a peer mentoring initiatives. And this summer we'll be starting a junior leadership program where we will be looking at doing some leadership certification and skill development with the generation between the ages of 14 and 15 that will enter the workforce in a year or two and could become maybe working for us in the near future as day camp counselors, day camp leaders, that sort of thing. Improve access to recreation and physical activity opportunities. There is this website that will be launched at the end of March, and it's southshoreconnect.ca. If you have the opportunity to look at it, it's a one-stop shop for recreation, physical activity, and sport. And it's a database where you can punch in, for example, kayaking in Yarmouth County, and it should tell you exactly what's available out there. All the data is not entered in as of yet, but we hope by March we'll have the majority. It's something that will be upkept. You are record owners, so if I own a record, there will be an email to me in 6 months telling me, is this still current, so that the website will keep current. Again, I talked about low-cost, no-cost programming. we have the Jump Start and the kids' sports. Excuse me, those are things that we'd like to promote. Provide programs for diverse age groups, increase fundings for transportation equipment for school teams. We're seeing an increased demand from the schools that cannot afford to travel, that need equipment. The schools, you're probably asking yourself, why would the municipality be involved? The education system no longer has that discretionary money that they can put towards the sports and recreation activities, so they're looking at us and saying, can you help us out? So maybe we should be looking at putting in a budget line in that category. And the increase in after-school programming, especially for the Thrive initiative for the province, has put some money towards helping physical activity for young girls in junior high, and stats show that the young girls are less physically active than the boys are at that age between the after-school period, which is 2 to 6 p.m. So they're very inactive at that time. Province is giving us money to actually put some physical activity into the after-school programming. And the last one is improving the connection to nature. So improve or maintain the relationship with the Department of Natural Resources, Health and Wellness, Tourism, support community and school recreation program that's connected to the outdoor, link some of the programming for the schools with orienteering, geocaching, provide some outdoor activity with our use of our trails. We've fun runs, we've got competitions out there at the biathlon, promote and identify outdoor champions, which I've already talked about, annual maintenance plan for the outdoor facility, and develop an outdoor data needed to populate for the website South Shore Connect. So that's the 6 goals with the objectives. And in your package, it looks something like this. The highlighted green is the areas where we've already either accomplished it or these objectives are ongoing. So if we look through this quite quickly, we see that in objective 1, linking the time of activities to target groups is not done, and increased connection with community and schools is not highlighted, but definitely there is a start there. So it's not something that we're not doing, it's things that have already been started. So it's not as if I'm asking you to support something that we're not already in the process of doing. One of the reasons is a CSAP, as I talked about, doesn't have any community school agreements. Provide affordable opportunities. We just need to review the plan and our fee structure. Increased opportunities for families, not saying that there's none. There are many opportunities for families. We'd like to see an increase. And we haven't explored the app world yet. So we'll see how that goes later. The goal number 2, to improve access to recreation infrastructure. Once we get the improved infrastructure, we'll be able to host tournaments to boost participation. We'll identify the gaps in our infrastructure and develop a plan to consider all ages and promote facilities through our clubs, groups, and associations. Improve the quality and quantity. Work with the community volunteers, groups, organization to support the facility development. Identify which community or community groups is in need of support. We work with the groups to apply for funding. We can help lead a needs assessment. We support new recreation and physical activity programs. Increase council support through a facility development plan, and I think you've seen some of that. Last year, I think Alain, our CAO, brought it to your attention that the Argyle Recreation Commission did go through a process, again, very similar to what we did for the strategic plan, where we identified priorities into the existing infrastructures and how we wanted to improve it in a 5-year plan. So we want to continue that. Again, community use agreements and develop a comprehensive annual maintenance plan. And this is probably one of the most important goals in our facility infrastructure, is that if we don't have a maintenance plan in place, then we'll see what happens to our facilities. You've all seen what's going on in the facilities that were built 20 years ago. Where are we at now? And council has put money towards rebuilding some of these. And some of these are better, some of these could be better, and some of them will be better. Goal number 4, we do have a couple of objectives. They're still not being done. The education strategy has not been done. Some of the media and resource, just to target an education strategy and identify the target groups has not been touched. Go to existing organization and just to present the benefits to the organizations. That will be done as well. And improve the access to recreation and physical opportunities. We need to promote the Jumpstart Kids Sport. We need to provide diverse programming for different ages and provide funding, transportation for our school teams, and increase our after-school programming. And our connection to nature, we do have a good relationship with the Department of Health and Wellness, not so much tourism and not so much Department of Natural Resources, so we need to work to improve on that. The support of community recreation programs connected to the outdoors. How are we going to talk to our physical education teachers to see how they can incorporate some of the outdoor activity, which nowadays is not as prevalent as it was many years ago. And the orienteering and geocaching, those are 2 types of activities that you do in the outdoors. But any outdoor activity is what we will be helping to improve in our school capacity, so that the students can actually learn from the outdoors as well as playing inside in structured and unstructured play. I know this is a dry piece of material. It's not something that I really enjoyed to present, but the importance of having a strategic plan is something that we need to consider, and something that I'm very happy to be part of that process. I think the Argyle Recreation Commission has worked hard to put these goals in place, that they are committed to the objectives, and that they are committed to improve our recreation in our municipality. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Nat? Good presentation. There's no questions, so.
Does this need to be approved?
Yeah, what we are looking is for approval of council. It's been approved by the Recreation Commission. That's correct. Yeah.
That's correct.
I so move that we approve the strategic plan.
Second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Municipal Strategic Plan Update. Thank you, by the way, for the presentation. Yeah.
So we didn't realize, I guess we should have themed this meeting strategic plan meeting.
Yeah.
2 right in a row. 1-2, the old 1-2 punch. You guys have You're all set. So I'm not going to go into huge detail because you've seen this multiple times, but so it's to provide council with an update on some of the objectives that we have established at the at the municipal level. Clearly, we just passed a strategic plan for that focuses on recreation. This does actually have some objectives that identify recreation as important. Specifically, hosting the 2012 Finale des Jeux de l'Acadie was extremely important and recreation related. There are other areas here as well, including, if I can find it, there is an objective around the active transportation piece that is ongoing. So we have just actually commenced that process at the recreation level, and we will be coming to council probably in the coming weeks to talk about what the plan of action is around that. There is a committee that's been struck. Nakile is leading that initiative. And so that piece will include what is it that, includes an education for all of us around what active transportation truly is at the provincial level. What do they mean when they say that, and why it's important to our community to be planning around this. So that work is forthcoming, and that is in fact part of the strategic objective you'll see here. So for those on page 1, you'll see that there are 4 objectives that are in white. Those have not they're certainly not completed. If they're ongoing, they're just starting. Okay, one of them actually speaks to Councillor Donaldson's question around the marketing and promotion piece to promote the Tusket Business Park, objective 1.3. That is actually, we're looking at perhaps broadening that to maybe make it less about the business park and more about the community. So, which would include, of course, the business park as a considerable asset. So, objective 2.1, develop an online communication with our youth and other out migrators. We have done some youth initiatives, but we have not done this piece as of yet. Modernize a feedback system. We're actually going to implement a complaints complement system that's internal, that's being piloted and could begin as early as next Monday, which is an internal project that we're looking to, and the why around that, why that's important is that we really need to track what our community is telling us at the municipal level, not just at a department level, okay? And so that can actually be rolled into something that can be accessed online by our citizens directly, if that is the wish of council, and the recommendation, of course, will depend on how the pilot project goes. So the internal review of services with our municipal neighbors. I guess you could argue that some of the work around the airport corporation would be considered review. However, a formal internal review of what's important and what should we be doing differently has not commenced. And so the rest is either completed or ongoing. And I certainly won't go over each of those objectives. But some of them, for example, 1.1, conducting an economic development plan for Argyle. The plan has been completed. However, there are objectives inside that plan that have to be met. So while it says that that's completed, there are a multitude of elements inside of that have to be done. So if you look at pages 2 to 7, it lists, it attempts to list them in order of deadline or by type. And so the status of each of them is described narratively. So, and that is now online. And we will bring that perhaps more to the forefront of the website so that people can see this from the community's perspective, what work is being done. And at the end of it, you'll see the projects that are in red are completed. So last we spoke of strategy, we did talk about the need to go back into our community to get a refresh at some point. That hasn't been done yet, but we are going to be bringing that up at the staff level to see, initially at the staff level, to see how best do we do that, and to re-engage our community around what's most important I think that the goals certainly have not changed, and our mission and vision hasn't changed. It's how we get there that we should be taking a look at, right? So, you know, so of course, part of that review would be to review the current goals as well, to make sure that they're still relevant, but there would be, I think, quite only minor changes to the goals themselves. Are there any questions or concerns from council? And then I'd ask council as well to consider how you would like to receive this information in the future, whether this is sufficient, or whether you would like for staff to incorporate your strategic objectives in a more deliberate way on the agenda. So we have toyed with the idea that maybe we should be changing our agenda altogether, and that it's, sure, there are some things that are there that look very similar to what it is now, but if the goals are, if our strategy is what is our driving document, should we be incorporating that document inside the agenda in some way that is more deliberate? So right now what we do is once a quarter we bring you information like this, and we don't necessarily report more than that around that.
Well,
And we also, we also report on a monthly basis on our CAO report.
that's just what I was gonna say.
All right, yeah.
A lot of that is,
So we identify those that are strategic,
Yeah.
right? So and that might be perfectly fine for you. I just wanted to know whether that was sufficient for you or not, and how that's working.
yes.
Is there a reason you're asking why, or if you think we should, do you feel like it's insufficient? Is that what you're getting at?
No, I just from my perspective, you know, it's very easy for an organization to do a strategy and then not, like, to do the process, but then not actually do the objectives, right? It's very easy to do that, right? So we're certainly not doing that, as evidenced by the report, but, you know, whether or not you want the strategy to influence your decision-making in a different way. So for example, I mean, the agenda could look entirely different. The agenda could be focused on the goals. And so at every regular council meeting, you're talking around those goals. That might be too much, right?
I think so, because in the end, I mean, we have day-to-day things to take care of. We're all aware what our goals are. I think quarterly is plenty, provided you feel you can do your job. I feel this is sufficient for a reporting service, given the fact, especially that in your councillor's report, you do bring up the immediate things that you've been working on. I have no complaints, is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I'm happy with the way things are going.
As long as it works for staff and you feel it is sufficient.
I certainly have no problem doing it the way that we're
Yeah.
doing. I didn't bring it up for any reason other
I thought
than
maybe you
check
guys
in.
had quirks with it or something.
No, we
I
can.
feel like you're telling me what I need to know.
Okay, excellent.
Okay,
Okay. So that's an update. Oh, sorry.
no, he's not saying anything.
Oh.
All right with that, Richard?
I had to move my hands.
No, I know.
No, I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself
I-
about something different, but
Oh, I knew you were thinking, that's why I,
municipally related, but it was,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
not this report.
okay. I could see you were thinking about something, and I thought maybe you were ready to,
Well, maybe I could bring it since we're talking, like, economic development, whatever. I've been hearing a lot in the community, I don't know how to phrase this, but the jobs that we consider like the lower paying jobs, labor jobs, and some skilled jobs, like a lot of the boat shops are having a lot of trouble finding workers, fish plants are having a hard job finding enough workers. I don't know if there's a role for municipal government in this, like, there's jobs out there, it's just they're not jobs that can support families, I guess, is the best way of putting it. It's mostly jobs. Well, some of the skilled boat shop work would be higher paying, but I'm doing, they're having a hard job getting the required skills, and there's most boat shops are booked up for 3 years in advance, and a lot of it is because they can't get big enough crews.
We're certainly hearing that as well, and it's a phenomenon that is happening in Nova Scotia. I think some of that trend may reverse with some of the changes in our world economy around the oil, but that's not necessarily going to fill fish plants with, particularly if those are skilled workers coming back from out west. I know that some companies have looked at the idea of bringing in foreign workers. And so one of the ways that the municipality can consider assisting is to facilitate in that process if businesses were so inclined. I know that Labor and Advanced Education has come in and visited some fish plants in Argyle and elsewhere to address this because it's a real issue. And I know that they've been in to take an initial look. So some it's about automation, it's about perhaps hiring less people and perhaps hiring higher paid persons to manage the automation in certain instances. But in the meantime, that takes time. In the meantime, there's a gap, and I know that in some instances the Foreign Workers Initiative has been looked at by companies. I know of one in Clare for sure. So it might be time to take a look at
I
that.
believe there is one in Clare already doing it on
Yeah.
Riverside Lobster.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have gone through the hoops, and they had a staff person designated specifically to coordinate that. So some of that has to be the business making a conscious decision about what they're going to do with their business. But we can certainly play a facilitative role in connecting what needs to be done, and we certainly have the skills to do that.
And another thing that's, I don't know if it's good or bad, Bruce seems to probably answer better than me, but a big part of the fishing fleet, the crew for the cream of the season, the month of December, comes from outside of our region, primarily the Prince Edward Island, Cape Breton, and northern Nova Scotia. And if that migration of workers weren't coming down, I mean, a lot of the boats wouldn't be able to crew themselves sufficiently, so, I mean, they're not jobs that would support a family year round because it's only like 4 or 5 weeks, but, so, I don't know if you like to add to that or not, like if it's a problem or if it's something that's just developed. So I go to the wharf now and I walk it on the wharf and I see the crew members, like I virtually don't know anybody anymore. When I was growing up, it was all just your community, fishing in your community.
I guess from a captain standpoint, it's been beneficial. You're taking guys that are used to fishing, and you're giving them the advantage that they're in their off season. You're giving them employment. It's easier to find guys. Personally, I take a guy for 3 weeks from Prince Edward Island myself as a fourth guy. My regular crew comes from down here, but it's easy, and they're typically, because they are fishermen, they're experts at what they do. They're highly wanted. But yes, I guess
A lot of the money's leaving.
correct.
Leaving the community.
In some cases, I have witnessed people actually move here, renting houses and stuff for the month, or some have even made this place their home because the fishery. But ultimately, in the end, yes, it's a shame to see that we're outsourcing work to other fishermen in other areas. But quite frankly, it's a tough nut to crack, really, to try to figure out how to put an end to that. It is
Thank you.
what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess the point is there's jobs, but there's not,
Yeah.
there's not jobs that pay a significant amount of money to support your mortgage, car payments, family, whatever may be the case.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will turn around.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it as much as I do now until I retired and went back to work for working like what the majority of the people work for. And it's not easy, it wouldn't be easy to live on that, I can tell you
No.
that much.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good point.
Next item on the agenda is Société Touristique Bon Temps d'Argyle, a video request. Do you want to talk on that, or do you have anything to add to that, or?
It's, I can confirm that I'm just trying to open it there now. I can confirm that the letter, first of all, the letter's in French, and the Société Touristique Bon Temps d'Argyle, while it was signed by Amelia Williams, it was certainly endorsed by that society. So it's not a personal letter, it's the
Yeah.
passion of Madame Williams that is being expressed as signing off on the letter. And she's requesting the municipality equally consider financing a video that like a similar video, but doing it in the French language. She certainly had some good things to say about the Anglophone version
Yeah.
of that video, but would really like to see something in French to complement the Anglophone video. So she's not given us any timeline to make a decision or anything like that. It's
Okay.
it's a request from La Société. I think that if it's tourism related, there's a lot of merit, and if it's community related, there's a lot of merit because we have francophone communities, and it also gives us an opportunity to showcase our community in a different way, but still keeping within the following the people
Yeah,
idea, and maybe some of the places where people felt that weren't adequately represented, we could represent them.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
In this video, perhaps more, perhaps pay closer attention to that, but
Yeah.
at the same time keeping within our objective, which was to follow our people.
Yeah.
It wasn't to show 85,000 pictures of wharfs, right? So
Yeah.
it was to follow why they stay here. So you could certainly do that in the francophone language.
Yeah.
I think. And we could use the same person, although he would probably need some help around the language.
Yeah.
Certainly the development of the video could be done by
Okay.
that person as well. I'm
Yeah.
fairly confident. So council can either decide that's a great idea and say put it in the budget, or you may want to defer it for budget discussion so that we can look at it as a broader picture. It's entirely up to you.
I think it's, Councillor Surratt.
When the original video was made, would have this been brought up at all? Do you remember? And why wasn't it? It might be an unfair question, maybe too sticky here, but I know the cost would have been just prohibitive, maybe.
I think when we chose the four, first of all, two of the four that we chose operated in the English language, so that became a non-starter. The other two could have conversed in either language, chose English as a more comfortable language that they wanted to share. When we did our initial draft of the video, there was very little, if any, French in the video, and that was a criticism that we had internally that we really need to add, and not add it with a flavor. And so, if you recall the video, there was a very small clip, but it was a clip that said, oh, je vais acheter ce quoi pour 2 pièces, using some of our dialect that might be, Sluice Point, and so it was kind of a cute, but it certainly wasn't representative of our francophone language in our community, and it wasn't intended to be. So it really was considered to do it in the way that it was done, and I think that the fact that we received this letter is actually very constructive criticism.
Yeah,
And I, from a staff perspective, there's value, there's merit in the request, and if council so wishes, we will do what you wish, I guess, around that.
LeBlanc?
I think it's a great idea, and I think, like Alain said, it's very great constructive criticism, but we could
Yeah.
probably defer it till budget time, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think we don't have to make a decision
No.
tonight. We'll
No,
talk
but it's a
about
great
it,
idea, for
add it
sure.
in the budget and see what it looks like. Okay, so thank you. I think it's a good idea. Yes.
How are we used in the first video? Like, is that being used by tourist associations or or like, is people in Ontario seeing this or in Massachusetts or wherever the case may be? Or is it sitting on a shelf somewhere?
It's on our website. It is attached to our strategic plan section of our website because it was meant to showcase. It was meant to be attached to why our mission and vision is the way that it is. You know, why is it that we work on the things that we do? So it is on our website and was showcased on Facebook, which was boosted. So there were quite a few thousands of people that would have had access to it. In order to get the stats in terms of how many people visited that site, I can get that information for you, and I believe I can get the regions that have been contacted. I don't know that we've done a phenomenal job in boosting or showcasing it on our website, but I think, you know, I hear what you're saying, and certainly we have that opportunity to push it multiple times at different areas. In terms of linking it with YASTA, I believe that has not happened, so that would be another consideration to try to boost the view. We know that the video was submitted to the FCM as part of their Hometown Proud. So if that was showcased on their website, I can't confirm that was done. But if that was, then of course that would have reached quite a few more people as well. But in terms of statistics, Councillor, I can get that.
Oh, I don't need that. I just wonder, like, I mean, if we want the people to move here, I mean, they gotta be able to see these things.
Yeah, I agree.
And,
Yeah.
so I don't know how many people from outside the immediate area actually look at our website or, unless it's family or
Yeah.
it's shared by somebody, but.
We certainly have that information, and actually, we can attach ourselves to other websites in order to increase the viewing, right?
Yep.
And I think that's a very valid point, and I don't know that,
Because
I'm quite sure we haven't done that to the extent of the possible.
we do have a lot of people moving here, like retired, not all retired people, but a lot of people are finding their way here because of the low cost of living and cheap real estate. And so, I mean, the more that comes, the better, because generally they're already financially stable or they wouldn't be retiring, so, to a new area, so
Okay,
hopefully, good.
thank you. Councillor Muse?
On the website, do we know how many people go on it? We can track.
Yes.
Can we track where these people are from?
Yes,
Oh, we can.
we can.
So it's not just numbers.
If somebody,
so
correct.
somebody from states or whatever, you
Yeah.
know that they're coming from states.
It's Google Analytics, I believe it is. Yeah. Google Analytics will tell us, I had to look at my IT expert. You know, if somebody from Zimbabwe wants to look at our website,
Okay.
we can know.
And do we get a lot, I wonder?
From Zimbabwe,
outside?
no.
Not from Zimbabwe.
Congo, yes, but Zimbabwe is down this month.
North Korea?
Yeah, our video wasn't offensive enough, so it didn't gather enough attention in North Korea, unfortunately. No, yeah, we can definitely, we do have that information. It's fascinating at times to look at it, and so if we can definitely provide that information, we'll distribute it to all of council.
Yeah, okay. Good, thank you. So this will just, we'll table it or
Yes.
look at it during the budget
Yes.
deliberations.
Yeah, we'll correspond to the society to tell
Yeah.
them that's what's happening.
Yeah. Wedgeport Wastewater System Project Update.
We'll try to keep this one brief. Good luck. So for the Lucien, Councillor Leblanc has been briefed on where we're at with that project. That project has had some difficulties. I won't go through the whole history, but it started in '01. And there was a felt and actual need for a review of wastewater practices in Wedgeport. There was some issues that some older systems and some systems perhaps not entirely up to the current standards. So we had, in 2001, examined that situation. It was far too expensive to fix, but that one had a Wedgeport community solution. So what we did was in 2012, I believe, we started the process again with another firm, engineering firm, saying, look, let's focus on the smaller, let's not focus on the entire community, let's focus on the smaller. And so prior to that, we did do a survey to get the community's understanding of where the problems were. And the survey was done by a local person, and they were asking questions that were developed with engineers. And the questions basically said, asked, how old the system was, et cetera. So that information was compiled, gathered, and given to the engineers, and so they could identify on a map, where the problems were. And so the problem with the problems was they weren't all in the places that we expected. So it was éparpillé, was spread across the area. So we then identified perhaps a more clustered location that had problems, and so tried to find a central solution for that. And by central, I mean a central wastewater system, much like Tusket and West Pubnico, meaning not on-site solutions, but a treatment plant, pipes in the ground, etc. So again, we hoped to make it a better option. We found a much better option in terms of cost comparing to 2001. The problem was the cost of the solution was paid for by too few people. And so, a central sewer by its very nature works financially when you have a cluster of people on the system, not a smaller amount. So that smaller amount was, the amount that they paid as a group was not unreasonable, but it was at an individual level too expensive. Probably in the $22,000 a person, which is, that was unsubsidized, but still unacceptable costs, right? So we then looked at, okay, let's scrap the idea of central system. That's not going to work. So the question became, can we get funding for a decentralized solution, meaning going into individual properties and making changes to their on-site systems. And so it appears that there's a pilot project in Richemont that is doing exactly that. And they're using gas tax money to fund for 2/3 of the cost of that project. So we're in the very early stages of assessing what that looks like. We'll have the benefit of seeing how it worked in Richemont. And so I did allude in December around the BCF funding and how that might work, and how the Wedgeport wastewater program project was still on our radar clearly, but the number one was the wind turbine project, which is the BCF that we supported. But in phase 2 of BCF, this is the kind of project that should and would be eligible for BCF funding. Now, the advantage of doing the decentralized solution is that you can meet that demand at your pace, right? So conversely, alternatively, when you look at a central system, you have to drop $2.5–3 million usually on a treatment plant, which may or may not serve many people. So there are advantages of of looking at a decentralized solution. We would require a wastewater bylaw in Wedgeport, et cetera. So I wanted to brief you on this is where we're at. So typically the cost of a decentralized or the sewer systems that we're accustomed to having in rural is about $15,000, right, compared to $24,000. So it's a cheaper option. So what we want to be very sure about is how does the funding work under that scenario? Does gas tax qualify, for example, which we believe that it does, but we want to get confirmation, and those kinds of details that would come with a presentation to the community and to you whether or not that's a project that you see would be worthwhile to consider. So that's where we're at on wastewater in Wedgeport. I think it's positive because it's actually, it looks like a project could be realized, the size of which would be up to you to some extent. I will say that the pilot project in Richemont was a voluntary project. In other words, in year one, they received applications from residents interested in participating in the program. And part of that participation included a $5,000 bill that they could pay once or over time. And it would replace their on-site system. And they would pay, and I believe also there is an operating fee that they would be charged every year. And so they wouldn't have to worry about pumping. It would be taken care of as part of their tax bill, and it would happen on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So it would become our responsibility to do that as a municipality. That's what Richemont is doing. Okay, so Richemont is then taking that responsibility to do that. And
Same as we do with Tusket, basically.
correct. The only difference is, of course, is that Tusket is a centralized
That's right.
solution.
Yeah,
And so, you know, I mean, there's a lot of logistics that you need to kind of iron out, but
Mhm.
we're not gonna get into the micro.
No.
I will be sending all of you, the example of the bylaw for Richemont and any other information that we have so far, so that you can get a taste for the project,
yeah.
and how it would work. So that's the update.
Well, that's good, encouraging, because we've been working at this and talking about it for a long time, and, you know,
Very much so.
yeah, so I'm glad to see, hopefully we can do something.
It was discouraging to see that a standard sewer system just with the geographics of Wedgeport became too costly with the pumping uphill.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But this looks like Anna said, it's very preliminary, but it looks like maybe a possible solution to the visual aspect of inadequate systems as well as the
Yeah.
drinking water problem, right? So
Yeah.
it's, like I said, it's very preliminary, but it's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
much so good news.
Good, very good. Thank you. Electric,
Mr. Warden?
yes.
Do you have any, just to Lucien or the CAO, do you have any preliminary numbers of amount of people that could be, like, would you say there's, 10, or is there 50 people? Of course, the applications would tell you when they apply, of course, but do you have preliminary numbers of any type?
I can tell you what they did in Richemont. They had 15 initially in a pilot project.
Oh, okay.
So 15 times 15,000 is what they, or 10,000, because they subsidized 2/3 of it.
2/3.
So 10 times 50, so it was like $150,000 that they invested initially. If you can recall, so that's not inexpensive when you consider the gas tax investment that we would have considered under the central option.
Yeah.
So you could do quite a few more than 15 inside the original budget that we had set
Yeah.
for that project.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it's basically 10,000 per unit.
Per unit.
If it's going to be anything like the Richemont project. So don't take that to the bank.
No,
I'm just
no,
saying
no.
that's what it looked like in the Richemont.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
That's just my question.
No, thank you. Next item, electric charging stations. We have somebody that want to give us some, I guess. Yeah. Just the cost of the hookups and,
Should we make a motion? We need one.
yeah,
But is there a cost after? Like, okay, you hook it up,
well,
and there's power, so who pays for the power to use it?
So that would depend. That could be, it depends on where they're located. I would say that the location in question would be responsible for the cost of the electricity. So for example, if you had it associated with a gas station, for example, well, they would be responsible for the electric bill. It's not that expensive, I don't think.
I don't think, no.
So of course, that would be offset with the benefit of having
People dropping in.
people dropping in and actually using it, so there might be some other benefits. But I'm not 100% sure what the cost would be per fill up, but we can find that out. Yeah.
Eventually, we're gonna have some anyway. Right,
Pardon me?
eventually, we're gonna have some. Or, I say have to, but,
Well, I mean, if you want to provide that service, yeah.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. It's,
Well, the car dealers, if they're selling these cars, they should have hookups, really. No?
It's,
Car dealers don't sell gas.
there's only one,
Well, they
In-
said
in
they
Argyle,
sell
so-
electric cars.
yeah.
It's the,
Anyway, yes.
if I have electric car and I go, it doesn't cost me anything to charge my car, is that the way, at these? There's no charge for the,
the common practice today is that there's no charge,
no charge.
Yeah,
but, well, there is a charge, haha, but there's no fee.
There's no, yeah.
We need it to sink in there. Well, then you're good.
I think the town of Yarmouth has a charging station
Yeah.
that it's free. It's
Yeah.
free.
free, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they have one. I would stick to a gas if somebody gave me my gas. You know?
You're dreaming again.
Well, they're giving electricity. Yeah, but they're giving electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that staff find potential locations to possibly install some of these, as well as maybe any costs associated with it. Just look into it further and bring it back to council. Is that a motion?
So, yes, it's a motion. Sorry, I'll wait for it to be seconded before I speak.
Any seconder? Okay. Did you want to speak to that?
Sure,
or-
so on
yeah.
the motion, we know that the cost of one installation is between 600 and 1,200. We know that, but there might be other costs.
That's what I mean, like,
Right?
yeah.
And there
then
probably would be, yeah.
Potential locations may be tricky, given the fact that someone has to pay for the power after, you know, that's kind of the type of homework you gotta look into, is what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Someone has to agree to that.
Yes, I mean, from our perspective, what we'd like to see, we can definitely do that, by the way. So it's, I think what we'd also like to see is how many that you want to consider investing in at this time. Because I think it's kind of a one-time opportunity that we're, you know, because otherwise, if we miss this, then we'll probably have to pay the full 4,000, so.
Grab
we-
them while they can.
Yeah, so we had talked about 3 at a staff level, but it's really up to you. And of course, the location would be something we'd want the community to be engaged in.
So is there one in Yarmouth?
There's
Town?
one. There's one in the town, yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's all, only one, eh? Yeah,
One public one, there may be people that have their own.
that's correct.
yeah.
There's a map at the back of your RFD that shows where they are in Nova Scotia.
Yeah,
And it's part of the electric charging station highway of Nova Scotia.
yeah.
And electric provinces.
If we set them up, it's more than likely gonna be at a place of business, I would think. Wouldn't it be to the business's discretion whether they wanted to charge a flat fee for, I mean, we wouldn't have control over that, would we? Even if we paid to have them installed?
That, we certainly wouldn't have to, I don't believe there's anything that says we'd have to not charge. I think that it would definitely be the discretion of the company in question, assuming that it is a company. You know, the other options would be that it might be a nonprofit organization that has it on their facility. And, you know, so I think from a business perspective, it makes sense, from a business perspective to do that, then they might do it. You know, our thoughts around that was location is important, and you don't want it so far away from the road that people aren't interested, but you want it probably not necessarily right on the highway either, because you want people to explore your community.
So, I'm not familiar with these, like, anybody know the general time that you're stopped?
Oh, I've read it somewhere, but I can't remember
Depends on the
exactly.
vehicle.
Huh?
It depends on the vehicle.
But it's a lot longer than filling up a tank of gas.
Oh, yeah,
It can be.
Could be
yeah.
an hour,
Yeah,
could be an hour.
yeah.
This is how you ready to it too.
Yeah.
You
And so you-
almost, if you're committed to electric car, you're almost committed to having your own charging station at home and only
For
using
sure.
these,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
using these in basically an emergency situation.
That's the concept, or when you're traveling.
Jim McLeod has one,
Yeah,
the Volt, and he has a charging station at home.
Really?
He does, yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't have the patience.
you can plug it at night and unplug it in the morning, it's all right, but, if you're leaving for Halifax and you have to stop in Bridgewater,
A couple hours.
A lot of these vehicles have charging have electricity, but have the gas aspect as well. So for people commuting to and from work, like some of them is like the first 100 kilometers in the car or something like that.
yeah,
So someone commuting to and from work can get by in a whole day on a charge, get home, plug it in. You never have to use the gas. But when you do have to commute further than work for whatever circumstance, that's when the gas kicks in. That's how most of them are,
yeah,
from what I've seen, rigged up. So.
yeah. Anyway, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Attendance at Energy Conference. Renewable,
I don't know who did this agenda, but boy, it's themed. There's a theme here. Yeah,
Oh,
geez, this
so.
agenda is sponsored by someone.
Was it being held yet?
what the hell is going on here?
Charging station.
Charging station.
Okay,
I think it's in Halifax, but I don't know that they've established the location. I'm just double checking here.
yes, I think it, is that the West End?
Okay.
No,
Or the
no,
Lord
we-
Nelson.
Yeah, I'm thinking of another one that's,
I could be guessing.
anyway, it's in Halifax.
So this was a conference you attended in the past.
I
Warden.
have attended
But
one, yeah,
It's it's changed now. It's,
yeah. It used to be a renewable energy conference, and now it's,
Smart energy. event.
smart energy event. It includes, efficiencies and everything else. So I don't know,
Seems to be lacking information.
there should be a link there.
yeah.
Let me just see if I can pull that up for you.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, Alain, now you said, if we're gonna be building a new building and this and that, maybe somebody should, I don't know what you're gonna get out of it, but,
It's literally what's on their website.
Yeah, that's it, no more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's not a lot. It's like it's a save the date. They usually send the save the date and
Oh,
then
yeah,
the agenda
yeah.
comes later. So I think the
Oh, yes,
warden,
that's right.
yeah, the warden got the email initially to the invite because he was there before. And I think that, so we're talking about, potentially looking at new technologies that are coming out, that would be a place that you could see that. But there's also, we have renewable energy as one of our priorities in terms of economic development opportunities. So it's talking about solar and wind and tidal. So it might in fact be, it might, it sounded like it was consistent with some of our objectives. That's why we brought it to council to see if it's something we should be attending.
So do we wait till we get more information on this before we make a decision? We don't have to know now anyway, so.
Certainly, we don't have to know now. Um,
early bird registration,
yeah.
yeah.
or you're, okay, since I'm not participating fully in the conversation, I kind of dipped into their website, early bird prior to January 30th.
Yeah,
I guess that explains why we put it on this agenda.
yeah,
It doesn't say at which location it is.
doesn't, we look in the
But the sponsors are all Halifax located.
Yeah.
It's in Halifax, I know that. It's combined with Efficiency Nova Scotia and Renewable Energy, and they've combined and made it larger, I guess, or. Okay, well, we can check at that later, or maybe just table it.
If we can,
You know.
if we can do an early bird with, and to be able to reimburse, we'll do that,
Yeah,
so that we won't lose the opportunity to get the cheaper rate.
yeah,
So if that's okay by you, we'll do that, and
Yeah.
then, but we won't do it if there's a fee penalty, so. Okay, so we won't miss the opportunity to save money, and then we'll go from there, okay?
yeah. Next item is letter of support. That comes from Yarmouth Area Chamber of Commerce. Letter of support for Lobster Industry license plate. I think there's a picture of a plate here also somewhere. Is there?
It was in
Not
the,
here,
it
no.
was in the email.
No, the original one, I think. Well,
There's a Hamar on it.
yeah. It's like the Acadian plate, except it's a hummer instead of a lobster instead of the flag.
It'll be torn now. Which one to get?
One on each end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to send this is just asking for a letter of support for that?
Yeah. Seconded.
No.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Water Quality Monitoring Program, Carleton, Tusket River Watershed. Did you want to speak to this?
Mr. Fulton
it looks like
is,
Brad's gonna
is our resident expert on this.
Thank you very much, Warden and Council, for allowing me the
Yes.
opportunity to come and present to you. I'll be very brief. This is a program, or there is an ongoing program.
Brad, oh,
We'll put a
could
mic
you go
there.
to the podium and,
Oh, okay.
I'll put the mic on, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Warden and Council, for allowing me the opportunity to make this presentation. This is concerning an ongoing program, and I say that program loosely, in loose terms, that's been underway since 2008. It has to do with the issue of water quality in southwest Nova Scotia, specifically in the Carleton River watershed area and the Tusket catchment. The Carleton, of course, is a tributary of the Tusket, and so in broad terms, it's the entire Tusket River catchment area. Back in 2008, it was recognized by the Department of Environment, largely due to citizen awareness, that there was an issue of blue-green algae in the Carleton River watershed. The Department of Environment did a water quality study beginning in 2008 and recognized that there was deterioration of the water quality in that series of lakes. With that beginning, there was also studies by the Mersey Tobiatic Research Institute, which is an institute that's in affiliation with the Ketchimakutchik National Park and the Tobiatic Wilderness Reserve. They were doing studies on Atlantic coastal plains fauna. That is also it's an aquatic species, so they were doing work in the lakes. And also TRIPA, the Tusket River Environmental Protection Association, participated with MTRI, the Mersey Tobiatic people, and they also did work on those lakes. So in essence, there's been an ongoing monitoring of the water quality in this area since 2008. The Department of Environment and the Department of Agriculture were involved because it was a provincial matter, clearly, with the environment. As a result of the studies that were done, it was recognized that there was an issue with the fur industry, the mink industry, as being a source of nutrients that was likely a probable cause of the pollution. So the provincial government and the Department of Agriculture developed and adopted the Fur Industry Act and the Fur Industry Act regulations. They were put in place. That was put in place in 2013. part of the provincial government to know or to determine whether or not the efficacy of their regulations. They've imposed these regulations. There's a period of 3 years where all of the mink ranches must adhere to the regulations, and many of them have, and there are still some that are ongoing. And according to the Nova Scotia Mink Breeders Association, there will likely be some of the ranches that will not be able to comply due to age and the economics of the situation. So there may be some casualties as a result of not being able to read those regulations. Regardless, the idea is, of course, that with the implementation of the regulations, that the nutrient levels will go down and hopefully the water quality will improve. So the Department of Environment, which began this work and has largely provided a good deal of the funding for it, the Provincial Department of Environment doesn't have funds to carry on projects over long periods of time. They just sort of have a temporary temporary funding that they do for some projects. So there's been a move on among the stakeholders, the various government departments and non-government organizations and the citizens in the area to try to establish a volunteer, community-based volunteer water quality monitoring program. The one-page outline that I've presented sort of outlines the facts of what's gone on, but I'll give a little background of a few of the things that aren't included. First off, why am I here? The reason I'm here is because the one example of a volunteer water quality monitoring program that was in the province was in Kings County. A number of years ago, I think 20 or more years ago, Kings County had an issue with recreational development around some of their lakes in the Gaspereau River system. And they established a volunteer-based water quality monitoring program. It was the planning department in Kings County that basically quarterbacked that effort and still maintains it. So when the idea of establishing a volunteer community-based water quality monitoring program here in Yarmouth County was brought up, they immediately sort of looked at the planner, who was me. So I was invited to these meetings. There was 2 organizational meetings, 2 workshops, one in 2012 and one just in October of 2014. And the other item that's not listed or not outlined in this report is the Department of Environment is in essence saying to all of the stakeholders, we're backing out. We cannot. The Department of Environment is can't carry this ball anymore. We've carried it, even years beyond what they normally do for a temporary project, and so they're saying, in essence, we're going to be stepping back. So someone has to step up. The meeting that took place just in October of 2014 was a very productive meeting in that there was representatives from the Department of Agriculture, the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. The current president of the Federation of Agriculture is a mink rancher. The Municipality of Clare and the Municipality of Yarmouth and the Minister of Natural Resources, Zach Churchill's office was there, so he was represented by one of his staff. And there was also, of course, the concerned volunteers and concerned citizens that were there as well. So there's a momentum that had built, and everyone is quite optimistic that this volunteer program can be maintained. Another item that's not listed in this one-page report that's very vital and important is that Mr. Mike Bolinsky, who's at Acadia University, probably a professor emeritus perhaps, I don't know if he's still active, he's an older gentleman, but clearly he was probably in the biology department of Acadia. He's the resident expert, he's a limnologist, a lake scientist or a biologist, and he is the author of the reports that were done for the provincial government, and his work largely was what precipitated the development of the For Industry Act regulations. The one point that he has stressed from day one is that in order to understand water quality in watersheds and river watersheds, you must have accurate scientific data, and it must be continuous. So there's no such thing as discovering a pollution problem and going in once and testing the waters and being able to have the data in order to make amends. You have to have an entire body of data continuously over a good number of years in order for what's going on within the watershed and how to fix it. So there is an importance in trying to maintain this. It's been going on now since 2008, but it's always in jeopardy. There's always a funding. Everyone understands that there's always a requirement for funding, and that's of course the key issue to maintaining the program. So the group that met in October of 2014, the next step that they recognized was the formation of what's being called a steering committee of all of the wide section of the stakeholders. And when it comes to creating a group that has credibility with the provincial government and with the funding sources, you must show unity within a region. And so within Yarmouth County, of course, you have in the rural area, you have the municipality of Yarmouth, the municipality of Argyle, and of course the municipality of Clare is very involved because the source of this pollution, of course, is 85 or 90% within their jurisdiction. So Councillor Dan, the name escaped. Thank you, Dan Health is representing Clare, and he was there, and he's going to be joining this steering committee on behalf of the municipality of Clare. John Cunningham, the chair of the planning committee and the councillor for the Carleton area, is going to be representing the municipality of Yarmouth, and we're hopeful that a representative from the council, the Argyle Council, will also agree to participate in this committee. We want to be able to show the provincial government, we want to be able to show the sources of funding that the organizations that we seek funding from, that there's a unity within the region of local governments. So, that. I think I've, in essence, said it all. If there's any questions, I'll entertain some questions. But why I'm here, and I guess this is a formal request from this group of, the ad hoc group of both provincial government department members, the concerned citizens of the area, the non-governmental organizations, to participate in this steering committee in order to try to establish a permanent community-based volunteer water quality monitoring program. The idea is that there would be volunteers, unpaid, within the community that would twice a year go out in a canoe, have this water testing equipment, do these water tests. I think it takes about an hour per test to do. The cost is the analysis. You end up with 2 or 3 little jars of water from your lake test, and that has to be sent to a laboratory in Halifax, and it's several $100s a pop to have that analyzed. And so the real cost of the water quality monitoring program is the laboratory tests, but everything else is volunteer driven, and there's no remuneration for the volunteers that do that work. The reason that's really important is because many of the funding organizations and the provincial government departments say, well, we'll pony up with some of our budget, or we'll provide some funding for you, but we're not going to do the work. They'll cut a check perhaps for the testing that's done at the laboratories, but they can't provide staff to go out in a canoe and to a lake to do the work. And the sort of in-kind work that the community is offering, of course, is the volunteering to actually go out and do the tests. So it's important to, the real key element is the volunteers, but the other real key element is, support from all of the local governments that are affected. So, if there's any.
Yes, Councillor Muse, how often do they meet?
Well, they have yet to meet.
Or they have yet to meet?
They have
So
yet to
we
meet.
don't have
The history is, if you read through the little one pager here, there were 2 meetings of what they called stakeholder meetings, all of the concerned groups that were involved. And at the conclusion of the second meeting, which was October of 2014, just last October, the Department of Environment in essence announced, this is it, we're stepping back. So if this wants to continue, something has to happen. So within the group, they said, well, perhaps if we could get a committee together to carry further, that would be a way we could do it. So a steering committee was, it was decided to form a steering committee. So from the group of all of the participants that have gone to these workshops, representatives from each of the various groups are going to form together, like one from each, and form the steering committee. And one of the mandates was that there should be a representative from each of the municipal governments. So there was one from the municipality of Yarmouth. There was now one, wonderfully, from the municipality of Clare. The municipality of Argyle is our third partner that we'd like to have on board. I believe the municipality of Argyle had been invited to some of these meetings. I wouldn't have been the person that made the invitation, but I believe that there were some overtures and invitations made to Argyle at some point to participate in these workshops.
So
But,
once this group of volunteers is set up and all that, is this committee still?
I think the committee, the idea is to have a, hopefully, in essence, permanent, sustainable program ongoing.
Yeah.
The steering committee's mandate is to get the ball rolling, to put it together. The municipality of Yarmouth has volunteered to have a filing cabinet and a computer in their office, in essence, to sort of keep the records, because record keeping, of course, is a big part of it. Currently, John Solos of TRIPA is the repository of all the data, and he's largely the person that goes out in the canoe and does all the tests as well. So there needs to be, rejuvenation of the efforts, and so that's what the mandate of the steering committee is. So its first meeting, first tentative meeting was scheduled for January 23rd. John Solo's father just passed away yesterday, so that meeting will be bumped forward by a couple of weeks. It's now probably going to be the second week of February, but that will be the first meeting of the steering committee. So we're looking for a representative from the Argyle Council to join us on the steering committee, hopefully.
Any volunteers?
Well, no. The first meeting was intended to be January 23rd. That's been bumped up, so it'll probably be the second week of February. The first or second week. It would be during the day, and I don't foresee more than 2 meetings a year or something. This is not a standing committee of a council or anything. It's just something to. It basically is sort of a high-level organizational steering committee to put it together. There are more questions than there are answers. The initiative is to try to put something together. This will be a unique organization in that it will be municipal government, provincial government departments, and citizen volunteers and non-government organizations. TRIPA, MTRI, which is the Mersey Tobiatic Research Institute, they're a non-government organization. So it's going to be a unique body, and again, the impetus largely is the citizens of the region that are wanting this and recognizing that it's important. And the other key one is the Department of Agriculture is very interested in the efficacy of their regulations. They went through, it was like probably a 4-year period of development of the Fur Industry Act. It was quite a task, and now that they've put it in place, they want to be able to say, as a result of our department regulating the industry, it has improved the water quality. That's, and without the testing, without the monitoring, you can't tell that. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you wish to do that now, probably have to do that by motion, but it would not be a committee of council. So it would be, so just it would have to be clear that it isn't that. I don't think that it has to be a subcommittee of council in order to qualify to be recovery.
You're appointed by council.
Yeah, so the motion
It's done
would,
by motion. I
the
think.
motion would indicate that it's a business matter and they would be reimbursed their mileage. Yeah. No, that's good point.
Yeah. I'll put my name for, unless you want it, Danny. I'll agree to go on
I'll see that.
Motion that we put Allwright
that. Yeah,
on the commission.
Second.
okay. All those in favor? Nay. Don't record it. Yeah. Motion carried. Correspondence and for information, building permit comparisons for 2013-14. You all had a chance to read that. Any questions on that? No. Financial request, district community grant, Department Nova. Huh? That's the letter addressed to you, yeah? Yeah. Is what? Oh. No?
No?
I didn't have, your light wasn't on either.
It's the residents of Park Nova. They've applied for grant $500. Some of their furniture in their lounge is getting pretty worn, and just wondering if we can help them to start at least. Won't buy a whole lot of furniture, but I know it does need to be replaced. So I will move that we give a grant $500 to Park Nova to replace the furniture.
Second, moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Notice of motion by councillor. Does anybody have a notice of motion for a future meeting? No. Question period. Any questions from the audience? Public?